Hello viewer, the Nameless Scholar here, and welcome back to more Age of Sigmar lore. In this video, I will be talking about the Blades of Khorne. Before I begin, if you want more Age of Sigmar lore videos, check out my channel and other videos. I would be grateful if you liked, commented, and subscribed, as well as shared this video. My purpose is to show people that Age of Sigmar is more than just the game that killed Warhammer Fantasy. The Blades of Khorne are warriors of chaos that have pledged themselves to the worship of Khorne, the chaos god of blood and violence. The followers of Khorne call themselves Bloodbound, and then there are, of course, the Daemons of Khorne. These two armies are colloquially referred to as the Blades of Khorne. Khorne is often depicted as a towering giant clad in brass armor, engulfed in flames with the head of a beast sitting atop a pile of skulls, and next to him is his greatsword. For Khorne, violence is not a solution. It is a question, and the answer is always yes. His followers and demons must present him a tithe of blood and skulls. Khorne cares not where the blood flows, only that it flows, whether it is yours, your enemies, or your friends. Some might take upon the worship of Khorne for various reasons. Some might be power-hungry and seek out his dark power. Others might start with nobler intentions, praying for strength and honor. However, more often than not, these intentions are replaced with an insatiable bloodlust. A worshipper of Khorne is on their own version of the path to glory, which is called the Path of Skulls. Once a person takes on this path, the Faustian deal is struck, and the Blood God will have their souls forever. Carnage becomes a biological necessity, and Khorne is a ruthless taskmaster. Fail to provide him with his tithe, and his followers' blood will boil and their chest will explode in a display of viscera. Because inflicting violence is a biological necessity, the Bloodbound are by nature extremely Spartan. They have little to no luxuries because they cannot afford them when they can spill more blood. The Bloodbound are usually nomadic, with camps comprised of tents made of flayed hide and skin. They are also, however, known to convert settlements they overrun into temples dedicated to Khorne. Those who manage to survive long enough will see that the violence they inflict is so intense it will distort reality. Demonic horns will sprout from their skulls, their tongues will become forked, and they will be able to smell blood from miles away. The true threshold, however, is what is referred to as red baptism, where one's skin becomes as hard as iron. The followers of Khorne are usually bloodthirsty maniacs with no honor to be found. The reason for this is simple. Khorne doesn't really care about honor. It is simply a lure he uses to tempt future followers. What he means by honor is, he looks down upon backstabbing. So if you really think about it, Khorne is lying by omission. Because front stabbing is not only okay but encouraged, especially if it is as bloody as possible. At the top of this Darwinistic struggle, you have two choices. Shed your mortal body and become a demon prince of Khorne, or live and die by the sword. Either way, the Blood God is pleased. Speaking of, this is why Khorne and Slaanesh oppose one another. Khorne wants his followers to live and die by the sword for the sake of slaughter, not for strength and honor, just because for its own sake. While Slaanesh wants their followers to live and experience pleasures as long as possible. Slaanesh doesn't want her followers to die of overdose, and if they do, like all the other gods, she's fickle and she will simply shrug. Khorne is simple, brutish, and on to the point. Khorne values strength and hierarchy. He wants carnage, and he wants it with as much direct combat as possible. He embodies rage, hatred, and malice, that primal urge to murder someone you don't like. Khorne cares not for city building, preferring to leave the politicking and machinations to his sibling Tzeentch. Speaking of, Khorne absolutely despises magic. not magicians, but magic, preferring martial combat prowess over external forces like the winds of magic. A wizard can be a follower of Khorne in theory, but they cannot use any spells. But it doesn't matter, as Khorne is the strongest of the Chaos Gods. Due to his nature, any kill, any moment of rage, hatred empowers him, for he embodies the fact that violence is a cosmic truth of existence. These are the reasons why Khorne's followers do not build empires. They despoil, which is why they are almost always nomadic. But they are also known for converting the strongholds and settlements they ransack into temples of Khorne. Although most would erect a skull shrine and leave, some might use it as a base of operations. A single temple city they send their hosts of bloodthirsty maniacs from to new targets. This is why the life of a Bloodbound is typically short, Spartan, and filled with unending violence. Khorne has set his eyes upon Aqshy, the realm of fire, because he sees his volatile rage within the volatile realm. During the Age of Chaos, the Blood God's grip upon the realm was unchallenged until the Storm God's Tempest broke. This marked the beginning of the Realmgate Wars, which the Blades of Khorne were one of the earliest belligerents of. So bloody was this war that Kul's Ravage, a peninsula located at the south of the Great Parch, has gained the name after Kordos Kul, the infamous leader of the Gortide. The Hammers of Sigmar fought the Gortide here. Although the forces of order have established a foothold over Kul's Ravage, even long after the Realmgate Wars, Kul's Ravage is a wasteland teeming with coordinate corruption. From rivers of literal blood to blood lakes which from within manifest Khorne's demons. Even if Aqshy is two of the realms where Sigmar's Tempest broke the strongest, Khorne's grip over the realm is still tight. The Demons of Khorne have a surprisingly complex chain of command. A demon army of Khorne is called a Blood Legion, which are divided into 8 hosts that are led by bloodthirsters, with the first host being the most prestigious one. Their combat doctrine comprises of closing in on the enemy as swiftly as possible and spill their blood. As bloodthirsty as they are, however, they are not mindless, as they also have basic self-preservation instincts, because if they die, they cannot spill blood. Theirs might be spilled, but Khorne looks down upon failure. The most feared Blood Legion is the Baleful Lords, characterized by their midnight black armor. They are most feared for their tactic of having bloodthirsters descend upon the battlefield like black meteors to unleash the fury of the Blood God upon any poor soul in their way. Then there are the Blood Lords, whom have put 12 Orc war clans to the test during the Age of Chaos, and have brought the heads of each and every single greenskin as an offering to the Skull Throne. Ever since, they like to fancy themselves as the Blood God's favorite legion, as Khorne's expectation of them keep increasing. Finally, there are the Reapers of Vengeance, led by the bloodthirster Narkazar. The reason for their name is that they have a sense of justice, even if that sense is rather twisted. They think that one must fight fair and for martial reasons, not for vanity. As the reason why they became Khorne's Avengers is that during one of the many battles of the Great Game, Narkazar slew an exalted keeper of secrets and humiliated Khorne's most hated sibling, which is why they became the Reapers of Vengeance. Then there are the Bloodbound hosts, which to their enemies at first seem like bloodthirsty psychopaths that care about nothing aside from waging never-ending war. This makes sense, given that they have no family or kinship, only the common goal of bloodshed, as they will turn on one another to sate their bloodthirst if the need ever arises. However, they also have a fairly complex chain of command. They are led by a charismatic and fearsome mighty Lord of Khorne, who prevents the warband from killing itself, and their authority is absolute. Disobedience results in very painful death. Underneath the Lord of Khorne are various champions and high-ranking leaders, that must obey the Lord and lead their own armies. These are the Gore Chosen, which is essentially the inner circle of a Lord of Khorne. These Gore Chosen lead what are called Blood Packs. Among the Bloodbound, the most infamous Warbound is the Gore Tide, led by Khorne Sub. So grand are their numbers that they might as well be a realm-spanning nation of psychopaths with a very long laundry list of atrocities, from the Age of Chaos to the Realmgate Wars. As their name suggests, they drowned Akshi in a tide of gore, and their acts of slaughter affected the peninsula on the Great Arch, known as Cruel's Ravage, because the Gore Tide destroyed literally any civilization that used to be there, as nothing but unidentified ruins remain. Then there are the Flayed. As their name suggests, they flay their skin and use blood runes to empower themselves. Other Bloodbound look down upon this and consider it to be magic. They normally have ivory armor, but it reddens over time with blood. They are led by the self-styled Queen of Slaughter, Droxkala Gorespeaker. It is unknown where the Flayed are actually from, but they are considered to be from the Eight Points, where they fought alongside the Ever-Chosen during the Age of Chaos. And on Gur, there is the Skullfiend tribe, led by Skatdrax the Slayer. As their name suggests, they focus on claiming heads to offer to Khorne. They tend to fight alongside Khorne demons, particularly while riding juggernauts. Those were the sub-factions. Now on to the units, starting with the Demons of Khorne. Bloodthirsters are the greater demons of Khorne. They are the embodiment of Khorne's fury, wielding weapons larger than most of the foes they face. Bloodthirsters fight in the hope of becoming the leader of the first host of a Blood Legion. The Bloodthirsters with the loosest positions are the Bloodthirsters of Unfettered Fury, tasked with the expansion of Khorne's realm as well as punishing any blasphemers against Khorne or a champion who refused to pay his tithe. Then there are the Heralds of Khorne, which are bloodletters that have earned the right to lead armies, answering only to their Bloodthirster masters. There are three types of heralds: Bloodmasters, Skullmasters, and Skulltakers. Bloodmasters are those who have mastered the art of the blade on foot. Skullmasters ride juggernauts onto battle, while the Skulltaker is the most prestigious position of them all. These loners are given the honor of decapitating worthy enemies and offering them to the Skull Throne. Skulltakers have had their position for eons. Sometimes they will challenge a champion out of the blue when they aren't even in war, just casually manifesting in real space to challenge their opponent to a duel. Should they accept, their opponent is already dead. The skulls they claim they bring to Khorne personally. Very rarely, thus Khorne allow them to keep skulls as trophies. But those were the leaders. Most common Khorne demons are bloodletters, the foot soldiers of Khorne. They are the embodiment of Khorne's rage, which are led by Blood Reapers, the most ferocious in a bloodletter pack. They tend to have longer hellblades, which I refrained from talking about until now. Hellblades are the weapons that are used by bloodletters, made out of iron found within blood. They are magically bound to the user and upon their death disappears with them, so you cannot separate a hellblade from its user. These accursed weapons are also searing hot and sharp enough to decapitate enemies in one swing. They also weaponize their horns in battle to inflict extra damage, but wherever they go, they will leave exsanguinated and torn apart bodies in their wake. Then there are the Blood Crushers, which are bloodletters mounted on juggernauts. Juggernauts are Khorne's mounts, which are demons. They are as metal as they are flesh. Their charge is strong enough to uproot the oldest of Iron Oak. When a bloodletter has slain enough foes, Khorne will grant them the privilege to mount a juggernaut. To do so, the bloodletter must either outwit or outfight it. Most, however, are thrown, impaled on its horns, and or eaten by it. Should they be able to hold on to it, the juggernaut will start tolerating the bloodletter because the juggernauts cannot be tamed. The bloodletter doesn't decide where they will go in battle, the juggernaut does. The Bloodletter is just there to occasionally swing his Hellblade. So from this, the hierarchy of Bloodletters are as follows. There are Bloodletters, then their leaders Blood Reapers. Should they slay enough foes, they can either go one or two ways. They can become a Blood Crusher, and then a Skull Crusher, and should they survive long enough, they can wait for much longer and become Blood Masters, and finally, Skull Takers. Then there are the Flesh Hounds, which are Khorne's canine/reptilian demons. They are led by Gorehounds, which with them, their hulls have a magical property that will make anyone who hear it burst into flames. It also drives the other Flesh Hounds to a frenzy, and as their name suggests, they are carnivores. Khorne's demons also have war engines. There are the Blood Thrones, which are modeled after the Skull Throne itself. It has contraptions that tear foes limb from limb, with the Bloodletters mounting it swinging their Hellblades with it. The one who rides a Blood Throne is called a Rendmaster, who has been granted this gift by the Blood God to destroy his enemies. It also has a maw that the demons feed it to empower the engine further, mainly cowards, while the Rendmaster claims the skulls of valiant foes. Then there are Skull Cannons, which are the only ranged weapon Khorne will ever use, and even then it has Bloodletters operating it. It uses skulls as ammunition, and upon firing, said skull laughs maniacally towards its direction, and upon impact it explodes like a fireball, burning any within its radius into cinders. Those were the demons. Now on to the Bloodbound, which are always led by a Lord of Khorne. These mighty warlords have risen by driving entire civilizations to extinction and ceaseless slaughter. They are clad in iron and brass, with scars all over their bodies. They can come from any part of the realms, whether as a conqueror king or a barbarian that has united other tribals under his strength. The Lord of Khorne is granted several other things aside from red baptism. For example, an axe forged in the brass citadel is gifted to them, the strength to wield the Hellforged axe with it. A flesh hound or a juggernaut they ride onto battle also comes to mind. However, should they falter, they will see that Khorne is not a patient patron, and they will find that those they command wish to overthrow them and take their place to offer their skulls to Khorne. Then there are the Deathbringers, which are not only the lieutenants of a Lord of Khorne, but also the executioner of the entire warband. Slaying only the worthiest of foes and offering their skulls, should a Lord of Khorne die in battle, the Deathbringers are next in line. Then there are Bloodstokers that are armed with a whip. They are the backbone of the Blades of Khorne. They whip the war horde into line and make sure they fight with ferocity, or the Bloodstoker will kill them personally. Then there are Slaughter Priests, which are the demagogues of the Blood God. They use the spilled blood upon battlefield to grant them boons and death to their enemies through prayers to Khorne. They are known to drink deep of the blood of their foes to be granted more boons. They go to battle either with a battle axe or one weapon in hand, a blade called a Wrathhammer and a jagged hack blade. Then there are the Skull Grinders, which are the blacksmiths of a Khorne warband. I will give Khorne this credit. Unlike the Greenskins, both orcs and goblins, Khorne is capable of artifice, even if that artifice is used mainly to inflict violence. These Skull Grinders forge the weapons of the warband on brass anvils and also use it on the battlefield. Then there are the Realm Gore Ritualists. Even if they are not as strong as the other Gore Chosen, their role within Bloodbound society is invaluable, as they have the capacity to spill more blood than most. Their daggers can cut literally anything. Skin, flesh, armor, bones, you name it. And they can use the spilled blood to carve blood runes onto the earth, spreading Khornate corruption which grants boons to him and the nearby Khornates as the world writhes in pain. The last member of the Gore Chosen are the Bloodsecrators, which are the standard bearers. The icon of Khorne draws Khornate energy and drives those nearby to a frenzy. This murderous rage is so intense that this leaves a wound in reality. The Bloodsecrators don't usually care for the struggles within their warband, they care only for bloodshed. Then there are the Khorne Wrathmongers. These berserkers are the result of a mysterious ritual referred to as the Brass Cage. The details of this ritual are unknown, but it is said that by the Slaughter Priests that Khorne leads those who want to go through with it to their fate. Many don't return, but those that do return changed. Their skins turn red, their bodies swollen with a burning hot blood, and a red mist around them that sends them to a homicidal bloodlust that will prevent them from discerning friend from foe. Then there are the Skull Reapers, whom are essentially the Chosen of the Blades of Khorne. The Chosen in the Slaves to Darkness are the shock troops of their patron, either Archaon or Be'lakor. Meanwhile, the Skull Reapers serve exclusively their lord and the Blood God, and the way they become a Skull Reaper varies from realm to realm, with one commonality. One, you must have gone through the rebaptism, and you have to provide 8 Ori skulls to Khorne with no margin of error. These brutes wield serrated weapons designed to spill as much blood as possible. Then there are the Blood Reavers, which are the cannon fodder of the Blades of Khorne. Many Blood Reavers seek bloodshed and glory, and eventually want to become a demon prince. But 99% of them will either die in battle or be killed by their Blood Warrior brothers. They are essentially useful idiots. These useful idiots, however, are almost never willing participants. Prisoners of war are offered 2 choices. 1, to die a slow, painful death, or cannibalize on their comrades. Those who choose the latter eat the raw meat, and due to the Khornate corruption around them and the feast being served ritualistically, it prevents them from receiving Ushoran's boon, and instead they become cannibalistic barbarians that exist only to spill blood in the name of Khorne. And the first taste, they gag, some even vomit. But the other bites, they start getting a taste to it, and then they cherish it. The raw meat dripping with warm blood, and then it's just all over. And should a Blood Reaver survive long enough, they will become a Blood Warrior. A Blood Reaver will become a Blood Warrior upon receiving Red Baptism. Blood Warriors are like the Chaos Warriors of the Slaves to Darkness. Whereas the Chaos Warriors use all marks of chaos equally and see chaos as a means to an end, or in the case of a Chaos Warrior following Be'lakor, worship the Dark Gods equally. The Blood Warriors are those who have fully dedicated themselves strictly to the worship of Khorne. Finally, there are the mighty Skull Crushers, which are Blood Warriors that ride juggernauts. So when a Blood Warrior whom have pleased Khorne enough can accept that gift of a juggernaut should they survive, they get the privilege of helping it slaughter the enemies of Khorne while mounting it. Well, anyways, guys, this is going to be it for this video. I'm the Nameless Scholar. Blood for the Blood God! Skulls for the Skull Throne! Let the mortal realms burn!